Hello, everyone. This is Yusuf from Linbit, and now you are with me with another LINCAST series of the Linbit YouTube stream. And I have Devin Vance with me. This is the first time he joins, so I want to hear your applauses for him. And I have Brian as always. Thanks, Brian, for joining. And I have Will Map from USA team again. Hello, Will.
Thanks.
Welcome. So this month we have a bunch of new news for you guys, and there are a lot. There's too many things that we can discuss in LINSTOR subject. There are so few in DRBD this month, but I know that DRBD's new version is in the progress of development. So maybe next podcast will be much more informative in DRBD. All right, let's start with the LINSTOR as always. Then we will jump into WinDRBD and then DRBD and finish our podcast. But before starting, how was your Easter, guys?
Good. Lots of hunting for candy-filled eggs.
Yeah, it was good here. We smoked a ham, and the kid, did the Easter egg hunt thing, and kids got too much candy that we're trying to regulate now.
Yeah, we didn't do much over here. COVID's kind of got put a real damper on things this year, but it was enjoyable, relaxing.
Yeah, I also enjoyed relaxing Easter, even we don't have any Easter, so because Okay, so let's start with LINSTOR. So as so many customers demanded from us that we need a LINSTOR GUI. It's perfect on the CLI. It's perfect on the integration with the operators and the virtual environments, but we need a GUI. We need to visualize things in the LINSTOR. So there was an initiative back then, and that the name was called LinView, but it doesn't end up really good as we expected. So we officially killed that project, and now we are creating a new one, and it's coming. It's real. It's really near that. We will explain the details in the closed feature, but right now, what we can say about LINSTOR GUI is we are now testing it in our local environments, and it's like, I don't know, 80% of all the features that LINSTOR has right now. It can view the resources. It can create the resources, as far as I know, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And the GUI is really looking cool.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's very snappy. It's very quick. It looks modern. It's very intuitive, even as somebody that's not extremely familiar with LINSTOR in the depths of it. I was able to navigate around and understand what I was doing. From my understanding, I think we should be ready for some public releases in about 3 months. There's some features that we want to ensure that we have tested and available for people before we release it into the wild.
Yeah,
it's really awesome. Now, there's been so many conversations about having a GUI. Constantly we're talking with analysts or customers. So I know this is going to be something really exciting for everybody as we start to release the GUI. It's going to be a really great experience for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Another news is you guys know we have an Openstack integration with LINSTOR, and I heard a couple of companies are dropping support for Openstack. I mean some software-defined storage companies, but instead we are improving the integration. And right now the integration is becoming good and every day, and the documentation is also under heavy review. And Devin, what do you think about it?
I mean, I I think it's great. We finally got around to it. I mean, to be honest, our OpenStack driver kind of was a little bit neglected there for a while, but Moritz actually completely rewrote it. So completely redone, brand new. And as you said, he's got the documentation going. So I know OpenStack's kind of fallen out of the spotlight in the last couple of years, but I mean, we still have a user base who needs it. So we're working on improving that and making sure it's up to speed.
Yeah.
And yeah, Moritz has done great with that.
And Will and Brian, do you have any customers demanding for OpenStack these days?
Oh, not on our end. But that's not to say there won't be any. It kind of ebbs and flows. A few years back, OpenStack was the next big thing, and then it kind of faded out. And it seems like it's making a resurgence a little bit in certain areas. So hopefully we'll see something out of it.
Yeah, I've heard some conversations primarily more in the open compute ecosystem in regards to leveraging some of the white box solutions with OpenStack, and it's a pretty traditional place where you hear about it being used and deployed, the web scale telecom types of opportunities. So yeah, definitely sounds like something specifically for that space that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I think the last OpenStack event I went to was actually in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
So, and Will's down in Texas right now. Maybe we'll see that again soon. Maybe next year we can get there. Because I liked visiting Texas. I thought it was great.
I forgot visiting someplace. I forgot how it feels like right now to visiting a place.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there, definitely. Hopefully. All right. So another news about the LINSTOR. One more thing. As we mentioned on our previous LINCAST, the S3 integration was under heavy development, and right now it's like fully working status. Right now we can completely do backups into S3 targets from the LINSTOR, and then we can restore them without any problem. And this is only one step ahead, and we will add more and more features into this area, and it will become, I think, very important feature of LINSTOR in the future. What do you think, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of demand for something like this for, I don't know, well over a year now. Yeah, I mean, the developer demoed it last week, saw it in action. Looks like it's nearly ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody needs a good backup solution, and when you're running a whole cloud environment, backing up to S3 is just, the easy option, or your own local S3, like a min.io instance or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, cool. I'm really looking forward to tell people that we are supporting S3 right now. I think we are there, maybe in a couple of weeks or months, mostly a month, right?
Yeah, I'd say within a few weeks.
Yeah. All right. So another news about the LINSTOR is the XCP-ng integration. So, guys, the XCP-ng, as far as I know, please correct me, Devin, if I'm wrong. So XCP-ng is like a community edition of the Zen platform. So the XCP-ng guys came to our Vienna office. We talked a bit, and now after that moment, we integrated LINSTOR into the XCP-ng, and now we are going into private beta for testing purposes. And after that, I think we will release the XCP-ng integration with LINSTOR, which will be really cool, I think. Right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Oddly enough, I've been looking into XCP-ng. It's been popping up a lot in my life on the internet, and and then I saw that this integration was coming along, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So now it gives me even more reason to play with it, as if I didn't have enough already. So I think the integration into it, if it works how I believe it will work, will prove beneficial. You know, seems like a natural progression. I mean, we already support, you know, OpenStack and the Kubernetes things. Why not support another virtualization platform?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And the next news is really good news, actually. I even worked that for, I don't know, a week or so. And we have a new LINSTOR gateway release right now. And the LINSTOR gateway is actually our a product that is exporting the NFS exports or the iSCSI targets inside of the LINSTOR. And now we have a new release that is actually the LINSTOR. Let me put it this way. Right, the LINSTOR gateway was named as a LINSTOR iSCSI. And now we wanted to add the NFS into that. And when we did that, we think about it doesn't make sense because it's just iSCSI. And we are supporting NFS too in the same name. It doesn't make sense. So we changed the naming. We changed into the LINSTOR gateway. So it will hug iSCSI in NFS in the same time. And right now it's on our repos. It's on the GitHub page, so you can grab it and use it if you like. And yeah, it's
so for the LINSTOR gateway. I mean, that's an easier way to deploy I mean, it simplifies everything, right? I mean, it does everything from set up the pacemaker cluster to set up the targets and the storage. Does it require that you already have a pre-existing LINSTOR cluster set up? So like,
Yeah.
let's Devin ask that. That answers that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm real excited about this one, actually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so I've been here with LINVID for be 10 years in September, long before OpenStack and
Congratulations.
Kubernetes. And we were just thank you. And we were just doing pacemaker clusters in DRBD back then. And one of the big pain points then was you'd set up you'd create a high available NFS server backed by DRBD, running NFS, just active passive failover. It's running great for 8 months. Then the requirements change, and now you need more storage, and you need an additional NFS exports or a whole new NFS share. So now you need to create a whole new DRBD resource. You need to relearn how to add that into Pacemaker, which isn't necessarily trivial if you're not intimately familiar, and you haven't touched this cluster in 8 months. So you got to relearn that. And if you screw that up, things might fail over unnecessarily or break. So
yeah,
LINSTOR gateway is great. You just set up a LINSTOR cluster. You need a pre-existing Pacemaker cluster, and then you just run a one command saying, hey, create a new LINSTOR resource for my storage pool of X size, and then export it as this on this virtual IP, and it just does that. It sets up the Pacemaker config for you, carves out the LVM, carves out the DRBD resource, and go. In a matter of 30 seconds, you can now do what something you would previously take you an hour tiptoeing your way through, making sure you did it just perfectly. Now you can just run 1-2 commands and you're done. So
that's pretty cool. Maybe we can demo that next time or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, it's an integral part of the vSAN project. Kind of what makes that all work.
I am not too sure, but I think I already did a demo and record that. And
okay, maybe we can link that
to
then.
Niels. But I recorded a couple of videos these days, and I don't remember if I did that too, because I created the documentation for the LINSTOR gateway. It's also live in our website right now. So while doing that, I am pretty sure I recorded one. So I need to check that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, cool. And Will, how about customers? Are they demanding this iSCSI in NFS from your side for LINSTOR?
I definitely seeing, a lot of conversations, around this. I saw an article recently talking about that as of this year, the volume of unstructured data growth is around 60%, year over year right now. So, and funny enough, the article was also saying that one of the key places for storing that was also S3. So I think there's a lot of really good aspects to what we're doing with the gateway, and also the S3 feature that ties, right in line with where we see the industry is really, growing from an NFS, unstructured data, and also leveraging, S3 is, highly common. So
yeah, cool, really cool. Okay, one small update from LINSTOR again, and we have a LINSTOR CLI that allows you to administrate your LINSTOR cluster from the SSH. And it is now a command that shows all the diskless node in your cluster. So normally when you just run LINSTOR resource list, it will only show you the diskful nodes. So you will know which resource is in which node type or node. And when you add --all into that command, now it will show you automatically all the diskless nodes too. And the purpose of this, I think Devin can help us. Why did we do that?
I think we had it was a user of ours that had a large deployment, and they just needed a list of all their nodes to make sure they upgraded DRBD everywhere they needed to. And well, they didn't get a list of all the diskless clients, so they didn't upgrade the DRBD there, and that caused some grief. So easy fix, just --all, and now you get everything. So yeah.
And another thing I learned from Gabor today, which is the head of LINSTOR development, and I talk about this feature with him, and he said there is one more thing that we can consider about this feature, which is, let's assume you have two-way replicated in 3 nodes, right? That means you have 2 diskful, 1 diskless in the DRBD side, but you will only see 2 diskful nodes in your LINSTOR cluster. And let's say you add one more node into the cluster, right? And that one is also a diskful, and then you change the replica count for that resource. So what will happen is LINSTOR will create another copy of that resource and delete that diskless node, because the quorum needs at least 3 nodes, and LINSTOR tries to become that quorum state, and they're using the diskless. The LINSTOR is using the diskless node only for the tiebreaker purposes. Mm-hmm. So it's not showing you that you have a tiebreaker, let's say in 3 nodes, 3 node setup. But when you go into 4 node or 5 node and more than 3 node diskful or 3 node replica, it will show you the diskful nodes if you want. And you can always do --all and see everything in your cluster always. Yeah. It's a small thing. It's a small thing, but a news, right?
Yeah. For those that may not know, the diskless mode is a means of accessing your DRBD resources over the network, similar to iSCSI, without the overhead of the protocol.
And better than that, yeah. It's
faster.
Yeah.
At least that's what your testing tells us, right?
Yeah, our testing tells us it's way more faster. Okay, now, big news. We have now officially supporting the Opennebula 6 release, which is released really recent, and now we are fully supporting it. And we have teamed up with the Opennebula, and in the next 15 days, I think, 20 and 21 of April, we have the Opennebula days. And it's a joint effort with Linbit and Opennebula. We have a bunch of very useful webinars, like use cases, Q&A sessions and so on in the Opennebula days. So I will highly recommend everyone that listening this LINCAST right now, please go and register from our website so you can keep up with the latest updates for Opennebula and LINSTOR.
Yeah, there's something for everyone on those Opennebula days. It's similar to the LINSTOR days that we did earlier last year, where there's, there'll be the intro of like what it is and why you want it, and then they'll go into a little bit more technical detail of, okay, this is how you see it execute. And then I think the last webinar that we're going to do is with the developers. So depending on how far of a deep dive you want to go, we provide you a webinar for every one of them.
Yeah.
There's also an opportunity for Q&A there as well. So, if you got any questions, definitely check it out. You can ask the developers direct.
Even I am asking some questions to our developers in those Q&A sessions because it's not easy to find them to ask some questions sometimes.
Yeah, you know where they'll be and when they're going to be there. You got them cornered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm registered and I'm excited to see it myself, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a conference with just the talks, none of the schmoozing.
I also missed the old conferences too.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember if we mentioned before, Brian, please correct me if I'm wrong, but so we also have a work in progress for Cloudstack integration, Apache Cloudstack. And it is now becoming mature. The last time I heard from the developer who's responsible integrating that, and he said it's now doing like migration, right, Devin? Am I remembering correct?
Yeah, he demoed that to me last week, and it seems to migrate.
It's becoming like a reality soon. From the GUI, you can easily edit, use in the LINSTOR cluster in the Cloudstack. And I think that's also another point that will be really, really important in 2021 for LINSTOR.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that as a public beta here in, I don't know, 30, 60 days.
Yeah. Okay. One last topic of LINSTOR. Brian, I think you have some news for us. A new tech guide is on our website, right?
Yeah. So earlier this year, one of our engineers, Matt Crexman, switched from doing level support to being our content creator, and he's been writing all of these blogs and these tech guides. So we've definitely seen an uptick in that. And we most recently had the opportunity to work with Amazon along with Jenkins to integrate LINSTOR into AWS and Jenkins, so you can have a highly available Jenkins instance that can span across multiple availability zones.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Devin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're really excited about that because that's kind of the first time we've actually have been able to develop a solution that fails over between availability zones automatically. And yeah, the whole struggle and the whole trek there was documented in a guide, now available on our site. Outlines all the steps and how we did it.
Yeah, now you can make sure that your development and coding and testing and automation of deploying and anything like that is running 24/7, 365, no matter what.
Yeah, but even if AWS has an oops, you can still now automatically fail between the availability zones.
Yeah, as long as you don't lose like all availability zones, I think we'll be okay.
Maybe they're opening a chance for other companies to create some, I don't know, high availability between the availabilities. I don't think they're not able to do that. I think they're intentionally not doing that in their environment. Maybe
it's definitely a hard problem to solve. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong between switches and internet providers and power outages, etc. Just like even regular highly available systems are difficult to deploy and manage when you have pretty set variables, let alone adding the internet into that mix.
Yeah, I can only
Yeah,
imagine.
not all of those services are even available on every single availability zone. So there's the other challenge. With some of the AWS services or public cloud services, they're not always all in the same availability zone.
Yeah, and that's it for the LINSTOR site. We finished. Congratulations, everyone. The LINSTOR news is now officially end. And now I'm jumping into WinDRBD, but that will only include only one news, which is WinDRBD is now becoming a stable really, really soon. So right now we are doing our last tests and last customer tests and private tests. And I'm hoping that we can deliver this product in, I don't know, in a month or so. So it's there. The joke happened, and now we have a WinDRBD in our environment.
Yeah, it used to be an April Fool's joke. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now
what's the saying? Behind every joke is a little bit of truth.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Yeah.
Now we've got Windows for DRBD or DRBD for Windows.
Yeah.
I just want to stress that I mean, there is a version available on our website. You can download now and try it out. So then we're seeing a lot of users in our Slack community, chatting about it and asking questions and stuff. So if WinDRBD is something that interests you, I'd definitely encourage you to check out our website. There's a version available for free right now. You can download and install. Test
along with
it
the
out.
tech guide.
Yep. And reach out to us via Slack if you got any questions concerning it.
Yeah. Okay. And our last topic is about DRBD news. So as you guys know, we released a new DRBD version. It's 9.1 now. So every major update and every new feature will be under this branch. So you have to update from 9.0 to 9.1 to get the new features and so on. And the 9.0 will be end of support in the end of this year, as far as I know, right? So, and the 9.1 is actually a drop in replacement for that. So you won't have any issues by upgrading it. It's use all the same config files, all the same TCP protocol, everything the same, but it's much more improved version of DRBD.
Yeah, they did a lot of CPU optimization, and we're fortunate enough to work with a very large company that had near unlimited resources, and we're able to really stress DRBD in ways that it's never been stressed before. So the jump between 9.0 and 9.1 is performance. That's the key. But the changes were fundamental enough that it justified another version.
Yeah. And it was called DRBD 10 back then, but we decided to go with DRBD 9.1 because it didn't change that much. So it's a major update. It's something like that. So
yeah, historically, when we do major versions, the protocol changes, and the metadata changes. So the way that DRBD keeps track of things, that's generally what's justified a major version change. So this makes sense to go this way.
Yeah, I believe with I mean, I believe there's a lot of reworking of the code, just laying a lot of, the groundwork and foundation for some future work. Nothing you'd notice as a user, but a substantial enough change that we felt a new minor version was appropriate.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of news for DRBD, actually 3 this month. One of them is, we have some DRBD tools built in, and we are shipping it with DRBD utils packaging. And when you install the DRBD utils, you will have Drbdsetup, DRBD admin, these tools for managing your DRBD cluster. And Drbdsetup is mostly used for setting up the resources, changing, modifying them. And right now, Drbdsetup status-v shows the backing disk of that resource. So it's a really small update, but it can give you some overview about what's going on and which resource bind to which backing disk and so on.
Yeah, it'll definitely be handy in large deployments or instances where you have a lot of resources running.
Normally, I was checking LSBLK for that, and now I don't have to. I just type Drbdsetup status-v, and that's enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, another one. If I'm telling the audience right now, if you are watching the news in the Linux side, you know what will happen to CentOS 8. So Red Hat decided to change the upstream of CentOS 8. And now it is like a beta testing phase. What did they did? I think they changed into CentOS something. What was
Stream.
the name?
CentOS Stream.
Yes,
Yeah.
CentOS Stream. And now it's like a platform for testing purposes of Red Hat Linux platform. And people are obviously furious about that because they were relying on the CentOS platform for their infrastructure. Now they have to move on some other distributions, obviously. And 2 distributions came up with about that purposes. And one of them is AlmaLinux, and the other one is Rocky Linux. And they are a perfect upstream for Red Hat Linux ecosystem. And now they are in our distro detection in DRBD.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out. From my understanding, Rocky Linux was developed by the original CentOS developer. Come full circle, he's back to doing that. I believe it was named after one of his associates that had passed on, Rocky, I guess. One of the things I remember seeing on the news feed was, I think within 45 minutes, they had over 600 developers committed to the Rocky project.
Wow.
And once he announced it, and I was like, so to me, that means there's a little bit of weight behind Rocky. I believe AlmaLinux there's a company behind it. I'm not sure which one, but I do recall reading that they invested, a couple million into it.
It's CloudLinux.
Okay.
And the CloudLinux is the company mostly working on their own kernel version, and they're actually heavily modified the CentOS to their Cloud Linux distribution. So they are really tied up with, they're really binded to CentOS distribution. And when the CentOS becomes unstable, they have to come up with something else, because as far as I know, they have 50 or 60 developers working on this project for many, many years. And now I think Igor was the name of the company's CEO. And Igor said, we have all the knowledge about CentOS and Red Hat releases. So we will just build up a new one instead of CentOS.
Yeah, and I did, the other day I actually asked Phil Reisner, he's the original founder of the company and developer of DRBD. I asked him how our support will look for that. And he said, honestly, it's not going to change anything because they're both going to be binary compatible with RHEL. Everything will just work as it does today. And instead of CentOS, it's going to say Alma or Rocky Linux.
Yeah. Cool. So this is another news for DRBD. So we are now supporting AlmaLinux and Rocky Linux in our repositories. And the last news about DRBD, and we have now a Prometheus plugin for DRBD. For the audience doesn't know what Prometheus is, it's actually a providing you some metrics about the DRBD. Then you can import that into Grafana, and then you can visualize the status of the cluster in the sense of what you want to see. Right, Devin?
Yeah, exactly. So we're now gathering up metrics and exposing that as an API. So, Prometheus can scrape that info and present it to you.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Devin was writing a blog, before, about the Prometheus and Grafana stuff on some of the LINSTOR stuff before, and that definitely got a lot of attention. So I'll be really excited to see, Prometheus and Grafana set up on the new DRBD version.
Yeah, I got a sneak peek of it yesterday. Matt, the gentleman I mentioned earlier, he's actually working on revamping that blog post, and he had sent us an IP that we could go look at and see where he's at. And he's working on a dashboard. And from my understanding, I think what we're going to do is we'll end up developing like a standardized view that we think is important. Obviously, you'll be able to modify it, but the hope is that we can export this view and provide it to anybody that's interested to give them a starting point of, here's the base things in your clusters. And if you want to add more detail, go ahead. And I think that'll be deployed. I don't know how that's going to be deployed. I think it'll be deployed probably with the plugin itself would be my guess. Or maybe it'll be just packaged with DRBD. I'm not sure. I think you were going to do some work on that too, weren't you, Yusuf?
I don't know yet.
Well, you were collaborating with Matt, I believe, right?
Yeah, I offered my help to Matt about that, so we can work on it. It was literally yesterday. We didn't talk much a bit yet, but yes, I will try to help Matt as much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, it always helps to have a second set of eyes on things.
Yeah.
It's similar to like when you reread something, and you just read it and you miss all the mistakes because you've read it 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah. I found a couple of bugs last week in LINSTOR and reported to Christoph and Gabor. It turns out one of the bugs I found is actually not a bug, it's a feature. So yeah, it was a feature and I didn't know that. So it's definitely a good way of finding things. Yeah.
Oh, it's a feature now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it was a bug.
No, it's seriously a feature, but I thought it was a bug because of the behavior. And Gabor explained that to me. No, it's not a bug. It's a feature we implemented into LINSTOR. So I said, okay, now I got it. Yeah. Okay. One last news about this LINCAST. So the last one in the LINCAST, I explained what is DRBDD and what is it intended for. It's basically a replacement for the pacemaker cluster management for really simple DRBD clusters. Can we say that, Devin?
I mean, it does more than that. It's really just a platform for plugins, and one of those plugins can kind of replace pacemaker in very simple instances. So I mean, all it really does is it's a daemon that monitors for DRBD events. Yeah, for those of you who might know, we have the DRBD events 2 stream that just kind of shows everything happening within DRBD, and this plugin just monitors that. And well, this daemon monitors that, and then you can write a plugin to look for certain events and respond a certain way. Right now we have 3 plugins. One is the promoter, and it will automatically promote DRBD and then execute. It can start systemd services. So in a way, it can kind of replace Pacemaker. It'll see that the DRBD is currently not primary somewhere, so it will promote it somewhere. And wherever it promotes it, it'll then start systemd services. So I've set up a small example that's, I even set up just a small NFS cluster. So it promotes DRBD, and then it runs a file system mount. So I had to create the mount as a systemd resource, or unit rather. So then it mounts the file system, and then it starts the NFS server, which, starts the server, parses Etsy exports, and and then it does a virtual IP via, I can't remember how I set that one up, but yeah, basically it promotes DRBD, mounts the file system, starts the NFS server, and starts a virtual IP. It's not necessarily monitoring these resources. It kind of is just a one and done. It very much reminds me of the old school Heartbeat version 1. It's just a simple one-line list of resources. Start those if no one else is running them. And, it's handy. There's some instances where a full-blown Pacemaker cluster is probably going to be overkill. One of the use cases we had in mind was with LINSTOR, you need a LINSTOR controller, but you only need one. So, in that case, all we're really doing is starting a DRBD resource and starting the controller. And for managing one resource, a full-blown Pacemaker cluster on 3 nodes seemed a little overkill.
Yeah. It's an overkill, definitely.
Another plugin we have is the user mode worker helper. So currently in DRBD, we have these userland worker scripts. Some of the ones you might be familiar with as a DRBD user would be before and after split brain. We have the one that takes LVM snapshots before resync. We have the before and after resync ones. We have the split brain detection. And those are currently right now kind of baked into DRBD. They're bash scripts that are called from DRBD, but DRBD needs to call them. We need to make changes to DRBD C code for that. So now with the DRBD daemon, we just have a plugin that calls scripts or commands. So we're moving that out of DRBD into this DRBD daemon. So, and it's a plugin based thing. So more plugins to come. It's open source if someone wants to develop their own plugins. And yeah, I said there was 3. The other one's just a debug plugin. It was just the original development use case. It'll get you more verbose logs on what's going on with DRBD. I'm not sure how useful it is, but it was an easy for development.
That's interesting. So DRBD is essentially, it exposes DRBD to some extent and it's almost like a playground. It allows you to do so many different things based on other events. Mm-hmm. So kind of like if then else, so if this happens, then do this. I guess it's not, so it is documented online. And I think it's really where we're going to see it shine is when the internet gets a hold of it and starts messing with it, or even, hardware manufacturers start integrating DRBD into their systems, and this allows them to trigger certain events. So I think, absolutely. Yeah. So I think like you said, Devin, I think the important thing to remember is it doesn't monitor resources actively like Pacemaker does, because that is one of the, that's why they made Pacemaker, right? Originally Heartbeat V2 is that there was active monitoring versus fire and forget it.
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of potential, and I'm curious to see what happens with that potential.
It's a baby now, and I think it will grow really in a good way. So I think we are going to use DRBDD maybe under another name, right? In the future.
Maybe we should start a contest.
Yeah, we should.
Rename DRBDD.
Yeah. Find us a good name, right? kind of a thing. Okay, that's it, gentlemen. This is the end of our news for this month. Thanks for joining. And do you have any other last words to say?
I mean, thanks for having me. The office is really looking nice there, Yusuf.
Thanks.
I don't recall there being a fish tank last time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's for plants, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for plants actually. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got the custom lighting there.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
Yeah, I made it. If I made it for myself, I found the adapter, I found the LEDs, and just combined them. And there is a small remote,
Nice.
so you can change the RGB and so on. It's there.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Have a great
too.
day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye.